Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to today's presentation and webinar on the TRBONet suite of products. We'll start off with the TRBONet Enterprise and the Plus products, and then I'll push on and I'll show you the TRBONet Watch products. The presentation today is also going to have a sector of live demonstration, so I'll actually show you the activities and the functionality of the systems live. We will do a couple of trial and runs on different feature sets of what this thing can actually give you. And the whole reason behind why we're actually presenting TRBONet today is really, folks, it's to give you another reason or another piece of equipment that can be added to your motor turbo radio system. So instead of selling your users just a two-way radio that is a push to talk and say, hi guys, it actually becomes a tool. So this is a solution where you can enhance your customers' experience with their two-way radios and take their investment in the two-way radios that they've made and give them a reason for making that investment, if that makes a lot of sense. Now, there are a few slides which I thought I'd bore you with before we got onto the presentations. Now, the slides I'm showing you today is for the new revision 6 for TRBONet, which, guys, has not been released yet. So there will be some feature sets here that I'm showing you today, which are coming. Now, when I say they're coming, they are imminent. They are imminent because of the launch of the new R7, which you will all attend with me on Thursday, and I will launch you the new Motorola R7 product. With the launch of the new R7 product, we will once again have to update all of our CPSs and our radio managers because there's going to be a new firmware version coming through. Okay, so with that new firmware version, obviously that's going to be the new release 6 for TRBONet. So some of the feature sets you're going to see today are new. Okay. I can see Jim already groaning because of the new feature sets and the loans. Guys, you have to remember when Motorola releases new firmware versions, it's because these radios are software defined. So the more they create functionality for these radios, which makes our lives easier and gives us more tools we can offer our customers, we have to turn these feature sets on. The only way we can turn these feature sets on is by changing the firmware versions in the radios. So hence, radios firmware change. Okay, the supported systems. So you guys want to now use TRBONet. TRBONet is only motor turbo? No, it's not. Okay, so TRBONet can be used for different branded products. So you'll see there now, brand spanking new to the TRBONet support is the new Jotron. Now, Jotron is ground to air. That is a airband radio. It's a really high spec, top of the range airband radio that goes into air traffic control centers. It's remote controlled, and TRBONet have now got a product that will talk to the Jotrons, also via an IP connection. You can also use them on the Demetra Express Tetra solution from Motorola. Okay, you don't have to only use TRBONet for motor turbo. All right, the majority of what we're going to tackle today is based on the motor turbo. But what you're seeing in motor turbo on the presentations and the live demonstration I'm going to show you today is also available for Tetra and now this Jotron product. So if you do have a need for somebody that's looking for a control or a console solution for a control room, don't think, oh, well, it's just for Motorola product. It's not. Okay. Just a quick overview of the Demetra Express new feature sets. The reason I'm starting with this, guys, is because Demetra and Tetra gives you full functionality for full duplex calls, which you can't get in TRBONet. All right. Or sorry, in motor turbo. So don't think what you're seeing now is available in motor turbo. It's not. The next couple of slides are based on Tetra. So it will handle full duplex calls. It'll also handle the DGNA stuff. All right. You can do group affiliations and presence detection across the air, which you can do in motor turbo as well. And you can also stun the radios, which you can do on Motor Turbo as well. All right. Your Tetra control stations, it's going to bring your radio IDs, group calls, GPS updates, text messages, and private calls. That is new for their Tetra offering. You've always been able to do private calls on the Motor Turbo side. However, now with their Tetra console, they are going to be offering you private calls in the Tetra console. Once again, that's in the release 6. Okay. It will handle full duplex calls for Tetra only. Once again, I'm going to reiterate this. Tetra radios have got the ability of doing full duplex calls. They do a full duplex call by using 2 time slots. If we went into full duplex calls on Motor Turbo, we would run out of time slots pretty quickly. Okay, remember a Tetra base station, a single carrier's got 4 time slots on it. So with 4 time slots available, you can actually sacrifice some time slots for full duplex calls on a single site. All right. So with the Tetra solution, you can do full duplex calls through the TRBONet console as well. All right, nice feature to remember and a nice feature to note. So if the guys have got Tetra systems out there and they need a console, you are now not stuck to having to stick with the Motorola consoles, which are quite expensive. There's been a change to the alarm solution. Now with TRBONet or functionality, when you've got a customer out there who's got, let's say for argument's sake, a fire alarm panel, and they want that fire alarm automated to their radios on site. So if a door gets left open or a fire actually eventuates, that alarm can actually be triggered automatically across the radio system to alarm people and alert people to let them know what's happening. The changes that have been made in the new TRBONet version 6 is that effectively, if an incident is not acknowledged within a predetermined amount of time, it'll be escalated to the correct user. So you can now escalate your alarm functionality to ensure that that alarm is verified and checked. Okay, so it gives you the ability to stop false alarms, and you can actually get on top of them and stop the false alarms happening if you find you're getting false alarms happening. All right. So it's giving us the ability to escalate alarms so that somebody does acknowledge the alarm if it's not acknowledged within a certain length of time. There's a new connection manager coming in release 6. In other words, you can now connect to more than one console, okay, on the same instances on the same computer. At this point in time, you would normally have to log into a console as an incident on your PC, and you could only log into one console at a time. This is going to give us the ability to be able to log into more than one console at a time. Whether that's going to be a feature that's going to be widely used, who knows? You know, you may have a solution whereby you've got 2 sections to a manufacturing plant. One section is controlled by one group of folks and another sections, and you need a manager who's actually monitoring both. He'll be able to log into both of those consoles now. Okay. There's also been a change to the TRBONet all-in-one or the TRBONet One console. This is the console that you can actually build for yourselves. Okay, so TRBONet One is a console that is not just the standard run-of-the-mill console, which we're going to be using today, but it is a console that allows you to change the look and feel, and you can actually make this console look like it belongs to your customer. Okay, you can move windows around on it, you can design it as a flat screen, and you can put locations all over the screen and resize the panels, add logos into the panels, etc., etc. So there's going to be quite a big change to the TRBONet One look coming in version 6. All right. Licensing, the dispatcher connectivity for TRBONet One and the classic console. So your classic console is always free. It's always in the cost. If you're going to run TRBONet One consoles, there is a license fee which gets added to the license to run the TRBONet One console. All right. Once again, you can run either the classic console or the TRBONet One console at the same time. It doesn't matter. You can actually run the TRBONet 1 console on the same machine as your classic console. You can swap between the two. What is the functionality? Why do we want to use TRBONet? Okay, so TRBONet is a dispatch console, which gives us functionality to provide, as I've stated earlier, specific tools to give your customers better functionality and better operation of their radio system, whether that be a job ticket, whether that be just straightforward text messaging, controlling cameras of radio users in specific areas. You can actually, using the ION devices, you can send larger text messages and quicker text messages than you can do using the 4801s or the 4600s, which are the old-fashioned Nokia type setup where you got to respond to a text message on the 4801. It's like writing a text message on the old Nokias, okay? Whereas on the IONs, you can actually type it as if it's an Android device, so you can just type it with the keypad. Data interoperability, so you're going to get your display caller ID, talk group affiliations, and that will come through from your Wave server as well. So if we've got a Wave server connected into the network, okay, onto our radio system, which we do have on ours today, you can have interoperability between your Wave users and your radio users. So your Wave users sitting out in the cloud, sitting on a Wi-Fi, sitting on an LTE network, are still talking to your radio operators in the field, okay? Now, guys, there is a new feature set on 2.10 firmware for the 4000 series radios, where we can turn on a Wave channel inside the 4000 radios. When this user leaves the site and he leaves his area of motor turbo coverage, he can actually go onto a cloud or a Wi-Fi signal. Now, he can hotspot this radio to a phone, or he could have this radio turn into a Wi-Fi unit once he gets home with it. Once it gets into a Wi-Fi coverage area, that radio talks back into the radio network. I will demonstrate that to you today as well. It is a nice feature. It is a new feature. Well, it's not new, but it's something that not widely known. Not a lot of us know about it, but I think it's time that I actually started showing you guys this functionality. Okay. Now, with that communication, you get your functionality and you get your IDs coming through onto the system. So you still know who's talking to you and the recording is still done. So we're still getting GPS location tracking and we're getting the recording happening on the system at the same time. Okay, so the interoperability between the Wave side and the radio side, you don't lose a lot of the functionality, which is previously we were losing that functionality. Okay. When you're looking on your online status, and you will see this live, there are basically 4 different colors you will see of the icon. Now, you can change that icon to suit what the radio is. Those icons I'm showing you are basically a portable icon, okay, with a little man walking. When the radio is offline, it will be gray in the console. If the radio is online, and your radio system registers the fact that that radio is online, but it does not have a GPS fix. In other words, you don't know where that user is. That little icon is going to be blue on the console. If the little icon on the console is yellow, okay, it just means that radio is online, it's registered on the network, and it is linked or registered onto an iBeacon, which is providing an indoor location for that user. So you know within the parameters of your iBeacon settings exactly where that user is within a building that doesn't have a SCID GPS lock. Okay. If that little icon is green, it means that radio is online and he's got a GPS fix. In other words, the GPS receiver within the radio is seeing the GPS satellites, and you've got a lock on that radio. You know exactly where he is. With the new versions of firmware in these radios and the connectivity on the GNSSs to the 4 different satellite providers of global satellite positioning systems, we can now have an accuracy for this radio in the field of up to 1.2 meters. It used to be out at 4 to 5 meters. It has now come down to an accuracy of up to 1.2 meters. So we can actually determine on which side of a road a person is traveling if you are tracking them down a road. Okay, you will actually be able to see if they are on the left hand or the right hand side of the road with the accuracy of the GPS. The periodic location updates for the GPS tracking are set in the system. You can also have all your GPS tracking solutions done via data-specific repeaters and not bring it over the voice channels, but that is done at the design stage. It's real time, okay, and you can also do historical routes and playback of a specific user for a specific date. In other words, it will bring back his breadcrumb and show you exactly what that user's done for that specific time. Okay, you can also do speed control on the system. There's a lot of functionality we can do with the GPS. The problem with GPS and bringing it into the market is that a lot of companies out there feel like you're spying on them because you're tracking them by GPS. I have found a lot of success by using the location of the person in an emergency situation. So you've given them this big fancy radio, they've got this wonderful console system, and they can push an emergency button on the radio, which designates where and somebody's in trouble. The problem is you have no idea where they are because nobody's allowed to track them because we're not allowed to know where people are. Well, then turn the radio system off because the chap's going to die before you find him. Okay. If you sell it with that in mind, when the guy gets into trouble and his emergency goes off, you know within 1.2 meters exactly where that person that's in trouble and needs assistance is, and you know where they are instantaneously. All right. So use the GPS location tracking solution that's in the console as a safety measure for your customer, as opposed to a policeman for your customer. All right. You can also do geofencing on the system. Now, the geofencing can be produced and put in instantaneously, or they can be preset and long-lasting geofences. Geofences are ideal and wonderful for areas which may be hazardous. Let's say you've got an area that's high in chemicals and the guys have to wear special PPE to go into that area. You can actually geofence that area and know when somebody is approaching that area. If somebody enters that area, you can actually send them an action. Now, whether that be a text message, whether that starts a lone worker, whether that is an indication to the user that he needs to be wearing specific PPE, that can all be automated. Okay. You can also raise an awareness to the operator's console, to an operator, to let them know that somebody has entered this geofenced area or left the geofenced area. So you may have a transport business where you've got chaps running up and down and they may not deviate from a set path. Now you need to know if they leave that set path. If they drive out of that set path, you want to know about it. Okay, so that geofencing can be stationary, fixed, or you can actually deploy it instantaneously. There are a number of ways of handling what happens in the event of a geofence being breached or entered, and that is all manageable and configurable within TRBONet. You can also do what we call a guard tour. In other words, you can force guys to follow a specific route. Now, guard tour, cleaning route, a delivery route, whatever you want to call it, you can automate this guard routing and turn it on and make sure that that person hits specific key areas at specific times. You can also run reports on those. So if you have to have a scenario where your customer has got a KPI and he's got to meet that KPI, you can use this guard touring to make sure that their KPIs are met and that they can prove the fact that they've actually got to a certain location at a certain time. Now, this can be done over the air. It can be done using GPS tracking. It can also be done using the iBeacons. Okay, the guard tour demonstration I'll do for you today is using a couple of beacons, and we'll prove to you that the radio registers the beacon and moves to the next one. All right, so it can be done open air. It can also be done indoors. Lone worker, man down. Okay, man down is a feature set of the radio. Now, all of our 4000 series radios have got accelerometers in them. So they have got man down functionality. Your 4000 EX radios come with man down as well, also with accelerometers. That is a different feature to lone worker. Lone worker can be now monitored from the console, and you can turn the lone worker on and off from the console, or you can turn the lone worker on and off from a text message originating from the radio to start the functionality. Okay, why would you need lone worker? Somebody's gone into a confined space. Somebody's working in an environment where they need to make sure that they are safe and that they are monitored. Okay, this lone worker functionality is now done by the radio system and by the console. So you don't have to have somebody sitting there monitoring it. It gets monitored for you remotely. When his lone worker gets to a specific set time, it will trigger a request to the radio, which the user has to respond to. If he does not respond to that, it will automatically alarm and go into an alarm state. Okay. Now that lone worker can be started and stopped by the user or by an operator. And I will demonstrate that to you as well. The other thing we can generate from this console, which is really a nice feature, is a job ticket. Now we can create job tickets manually. You can have job tickets created automatically from your alarm management solution. You can have job tickets created as an escalation. So if somebody has to respond to something within a specific time, you can actually create a job ticket for that. Okay, so job tickets will be demonstrated, and I think there's a myriad of uses for job tickets. It gives you the functionality where you got guys maybe using iron radios and using Android devices. They may have a solution whereby these job tickets can be a functional add-on to their current solutions. Let's have a quick look at the alarm management. Now, the alarm management section is quite intricate. You can generate alarms from a number of sources. So you can generate alarms from a radio, okay? So whether that be an emergency, from the emergency button, a radio state, a text message, a telemetry device, somebody's left a door open. Let's say you've got a door contact that's been left open, and that radio sends a telemetry command back to TRBONet saying this door's been left open. It can then generate an output. Now, what is that output? That output gets managed out of TRBONet. Do we manage that output as a text message to a radio? Do we want to send it to the dispatcher himself as an alert? Do we want to SMTP it and send it out as an email to come onto a manager's desk that a door's been left open? Do you want to send it to somebody's mobile phone? Do you want to send a text message? Do you want to send an email to a mobile phone? So all of that functionality and the handling of the alarm, whether it's generated from a telemetry device or from a control panel like a fire control panel, can be managed inside TRBONet. I think there's going to raise quite a few questions on this alarm management, but I've found the ability to be able to manage these types of alarms is quite enticing and quite attractive to companies that have got lots of folks on the floor doing menial work and they need to get alarms to them. Let's say a fire alarm doesn't trigger in specific parts of the building. Stick the fire alarm over the 2-way radio. Let it come out on his belt, okay? Because he's got the radio on him all the time. Probably one of the most powerful feature sets of any console, and TRBONet is no different, is the ability to quickly group calls together that can't traditionally talk to each other. Now, these can be quickly grouped and created on TRBONet and put into activity. You can also bring disparate non-motor turbo, non-Motorola, non-legacy radio systems into TRBONet. So by using the IP gateway, the A200 IP gateway, which has got a 4Y ENM interface on it, you can Ethernet a radio back into TRBONet from anywhere. So you could bring a UHF CB channel into TRBONet, which is sitting in a different location to what your operators are running on. So if you're in a mining activity and you have to have channel 26 CB on your radio system, you can bring that back in via a disparate radio. Now, it doesn't have to be a Motorola radio. It could be anything that can handle a 4Y ENM interface, okay? And what you do is you bring that in and bridge it to a talk group. Now, you can bridge it back into a talk group, which you call CB channel 26. And when that talk group goes active, and the analog side is active, the digital side will be active. And that gets generated and operational through TRBONet. So it gives you this ability to have system interoperability between your Motorola Motor Turbo solution and any other system that's sitting out there, just by simply having a trigger-based radio coming back into it via the IP gateway, the A200 IP gateway. We support a number of wave units. Please remember the ION radio is effectively a wave unit, okay? The new Motorola Evolve is supported. Obviously the Lex L11 and then your TLK 100 150s are all supported, as well as the Android, iOS, phones, tablets, Wave PTX app, which you can download and put onto any Android device, any iOS device, okay? That is all supported within TRBONet. I'm also going to demonstrate to you today a tool, which is a tool that is more useful to us as the radio dealer than it is to the owner of the radio system. This is a tool that helps you monitor everything that is happening on that radio system. So TRBONet Watch is effectively a software packet sniffer. Okay, it's going to sniff everything that is happening on your radio system via Ethernet. Basically, folks, this is RDAC on steroid. Now, anybody that's used RDAC knows what RDAC can give us. It shows us alarm functionality and it shows us status of the repeaters. We can also bring back voltages, etc., from RDAC. What TRBONet Watch does for you is it provides that for you live all the time. So it's a constant live update of exactly what that radio system is doing all the time. All right, so I'm going to show you a quick overview of TRBONet Watch. It is something, like I have said, for you guys more so than for your customers. It's a quick overview of what the health of your radio system is, and it'll also show you a full topology of your radio system. So it's got a full-time real monitor window, which shows you the activity on each time slot. What that activity is determined by the colors, whether it be data activity or voice activity. And you can also see which radios are generating the calls, okay? Which radios are GPSing back, etc., etc. There's a topology monitor, which is an actual topology. You don't draw it. It gets generated by TRBONet Watch. So TRBONet Watch goes out and generates this topology based on what is connected to your radio system. Okay? It is live and it is actual. It is not something you are creating. It's a physical, actual connectivity back into your radio system. And it's on a single screen. So you can see exactly what the topology is of your radio system at any one time. You can also go and do reports and analytics directly out of TRBONet Watch. If you are getting a situation where the guys keep saying to you, oh, this channel keeps going busy, we're getting busies all the time, this can be used to generate information to go back to your customer and saying, guys, we are hitting capacity here, we need to add a repeater, or we are not handling the data stream that's coming through, we need to split our data from our voice, or we've got too much other activity having on the radio system. You can actually manage the system effectively with this type of information. It gives it to you at your fingertips. Whereas in the past, we're more guessing, oh, hang on, did you chaps get busy? Are you getting knocked off the system? Now you can actually go and physically see it, okay? So it's a physical report that gets run for you on the activity of the system. It's got a diagnostics window. This diagnostics window is actually running RDAC. So anybody that understands RDAC, this is RDAC, okay? It shows you on a single pane every single repeater, every single MNI is connected to the system in one screen with the activity. On Motorola's RDAC, if I wanted to see what my RSSI levels were on a receiving time slot, I need to go and request that information. On this one, it's live. When that time slot has activity on it, you will see the uplink RSSI levels dictated and shown to you, okay? You can see the frequencies programmed into this repeater station. You can see which channels are programmed into the repeater, and you can see what its IP addresses, et cetera, are. So once again, it's an overview of your network of this radio system for each repeaters that are connected to it. And once again, you will see that live. Okay. That is the live TRBONet Plus. Now we are running version 5.3, so we won't be going to version 6 until it's released, but currently that is an operational TRBONet system. To give you a quick overview, this is your main screen. This is your voice dispatcher screen. The screen you're seeing at the bottom here, okay, is basically all the recent calls and events that's happening on this radio system. You can pin this or unpin this from the main screen. So you can actually have it active on the main screen all the time, or you can hide it. Those are recent calls. These are request to talk tab. This is your radio state tab. This is the state of your radios that are on the radio system. Okay, these are your active tasks. If you have any active tasks on the system, these are your active routes. If you have any active routes on the system, all right. User activity window and your mapping. So you can actually pin the map onto this window if you wanted to pin your map onto this window as a permanent map, all right. You can also, if you have done it, create cameras on the network. These cameras would bring the live stream into TRBONet, and you can associate the cameras that are live streaming into TRBONet with either locations or radios. If you associate a camera to a location or a radio, when that radio generates an emergency, it would automatically bring up that live stream as another window. So you would be able to acknowledge the fact that there's an emergency. You know who's in trouble. You can see where he is on the map because it will bring the map up. And if there is a camera within that environment, it will bring up the live stream of exactly where the chap is. So anybody that's in trouble, that's in with a CCTV camera coverage area, you will actually be able to watch that incident unfold on the console. Okay. Now that is another setup. You need to set that up. It's not automated. You would have to go in and put the cameras in, and you would need to allocate them into locations. Just the same as if when you're putting iBeacons in, you're allocating iBeacons. Now, this is a live map, okay? It's actually live. It's generated. If I move the map down into a different part of Australia, it will zoom in and zoom out. It is live. That yellow pin, so like I said to you, you have got 3 or 4 different ways of indicating what radio states they're in. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see which radios are turned on, which radios are not turned on, and what is the state of that radio, okay? So anything with a blue icon tells you that that radio is turned on and it's registered onto the radio system. So that radio is live and is allowed to be on the radio system. However, it is not tracked. We do not know where that radio is. Okay. Anything that is green is live, it's turned on, and it's got a GPS lock. In other words, it is locked to GPS satellites, and you know within 1.2 meters of exactly where that radio is. If you hover over the pin, you will see where its current location is. That is its current location. All right. Sometimes when you are in the location that the mapping understands, it will give you the physical address of exactly where that radio is sitting. When the radio has got the yellow icon on it, that radio is locked to a iBeacon. Now we use the Estimate iBeacons. Guys, you can use any iBeacon you like. You do not have to use a specific iBeacon. That iBeacon information that is in the radio, you can put in with CPS, okay? On the mapping, you can actually show all radios, or you can select which radios you want to be seen. If I select the gray radios, it will also put radios in there that are not visible and not seen. You can turn off radios that are visible and are seen. Okay, so from the mapping, it's very quick to see who's where and why. You can also show your beacons with radios. You can show all your beacons. So a beacon without a radio on it will come up blue, and it'll show you the location where you've stuck it. Okay. Or you can say, I want beacons that are alarmed. Okay. So this is quickly changeable by your operator. The functionality that you're giving the operator here, okay, depends on your settings you give for the operator within the administration. So you can change what the operators see with respect to everything you're seeing on the screen. All right. Another powerful tool TRBONet gives us as users of a radio system is we can do what we call a coverage map. Now, this is a separate license, folks. It's not free, okay? But what you can do is you can load what we call a coverage map. Now, this coverage mapping gives you absolute coverage, predictions, and functionality of your radio system. Okay, so if I zoom out, you will see that the green is an excellent. Now, this setting is your setting. You create what RSSI levels you will run as an excellent, a normal, satisfactory, poor, or bad. And based on where these radio operators end up and go within a specific period of time, okay, you can determine whether you have a problem and you have a coverage issue on your radio system. Now, this coverage is not just uplink, it's actually up and downlink. So it is a total coverage solution real time. So this is not predicted, this is actual. So once you've built your radio system and your radio system has been running for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, you can actually go in and do a coverage map of the radio system, and it will give you exact RSSI levels for that system. You can then play with antennas if you have to improve your coverage. You can move base stations, raise base stations, lower base stations to improve your coverage. All right. This is a wonderful feature for solutions where you've got open mines, pitted mines, where the guys are getting into the pits and they keep moaning and screaming and shouting that they've got no comms in the pit. This would tell you exactly where your comm starts dying in the pit. You can actually then start working intelligently to try and find a solution to fix the solution in the pit. Okay, it's a wonderful tool. It's a tool for you and I. It's not something you're going to teach your customer to utilize. There's no real benefit to your customers seeing this type of information. But for the cost of putting in this coverage mapping, guys, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool to have. It's maybe something to consider when you guys are proposing new TRBONet solutions for your customers. Okay, is maybe look at including a coverage map functionality. You can also select the source of the map. So as a standard across the board, MotorTurbo or TRBONet gives you the options of selecting different maps. Okay, at the moment, I've selected the online maps. If you select the Google Earth maps, the Google Maps, you will end up with a Google watermark in the image, and you can't get rid of it. It's there. I just run the standard one. You can also change it to a street view. It doesn't have to be a map view like this. You can change it to the traditional street view or the traditional mapping type view. It doesn't have to be a Google Earth type view like you're seeing here. Okay. You can also find your specific users on the map. So if you are in the wrong part of the map, you don't know where your map is, you don't know where your users are, you can actually go and find them, and you can actually display them on the map. Okay. You can also put a home button on the map. So if you've set a home button, you can actually set your home button. So if you get to your map and it's in a disparate view and you can't find anybody and the thing's sitting out in the middle of nowhere and you can't find anybody, you can press your home button and it'll take you straight back into your home view. Now that can be set, and you can set the home view at any time. So if your certain operators are working in different regions and they want to see different views, they can set those for themselves. Okay. So you can see I'm running in the Bing hybrid map. Now with indoor location, you would add maps into the top end here. You would get different tabs. So for every indoor location map that you generated, and you can generate an indoor location map based on a PDF, based on a drawing, based on, and you convert those. You can also have 3D maps. So you can create a 3D map of a building, including stairways, offices, etc., in which you're going to place your iBeacons. And if an iBeacon is being registered, you can actually go and physically look at that map, and it'll show you specifically in a building or in a location exactly where that user is, down to within the range that you've set on that iBeacon. Now, that iBeacons can be as accurate as down to less than 1 meter. Okay, it depends on how much power and strength you allow in the beacons to jump out at. Okay. I think you're getting the feeling here that this is really configurable to configure in any way, shape, or form that suits you. Right? Job ticketing. Now, as I said, job ticketing can be generated automatically. It can also be generated manually. So you can create a job ticket and then issue it to a 2-way radio. So if we go and create a job ticket, and we can create the job ticket. Okay, once you've created the job ticket, it will tell us that the job ticket has been created. Okay, once we can create the job ticket, you now need to assign that. You need to assign that to a user, or you can assign that to a group of users. When you go to assign this to a user, it's going to bring up a drop list. Okay, in that drop list, you can pick the radio you want to assign it to. I'm going to pick this top one just because it's on the top of the list, makes it easier for me. Okay. When I assign that, the radio will be given a text message, and I'm going to stop talking.
Subject, A00008. Content, clean air conditioner in training room.
Okay, that is the message that gets received by the radio. Once the radio receives that message, the person has got options. Now, those options we have determined and created inside of TRBONet. So we've said, what are our statuses? Our statuses are, we can cancel that call. We've assigned it. So we've currently assigned it. Now this user can either accept the call. Once he's accepted it, he's going to put it into progress. Okay. Once he started it, he can complete it, or this user can reject the call. Okay. So if this chap gets the call and he's decided, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm too good to clean air conditioners. I ain't going to clean an air conditioner. He can reject the call. Okay. Once that call gets rejected, you'll see the color changed. So me as an operator, I sit there and go, oh, beautiful. Mr. Sleep's rejected my call. He thinks he's better than the rest of us. Okay. And I can then reassign that to a different radio. However, had His Lordship accepted that call, the status of that call would have changed. Okay, so you can see now in the left-hand side, I have accepted this call. Now I've accepted it. The message was created at 12:13 at 30. Okay. There's an end time here of 12:14:55. So I'm saying I want this job end time by that time. If it doesn't get ended in that specific time, this job will escalate. And it will escalate to the next person in the queue if you set that escalation up. So once you've created a job ticket and you are saying that the job ticket has to be finished in a certain time, if it's not, you've got an escalation. So you can now escalate that job ticket to somebody higher and above the person you've allocated that job to. In this way, you're ensuring that that task actually happens. Let's say a fire door's been left open, and that fire door constitutes a breach of security and a breach of safety in the event of a fire, and it needs to be closed within a certain length of time once that issue's been raised. Your alarm management system creates the incident. You generate a job ticket. The job ticket goes to a user, a specific user. Go and close this fire door and test the fire door. He needs to start that and finish it in a set time period, or that call will escalate. If that call escalates, it goes to the next person in the queue or it goes to the supervisor to ensure that that job actually gets tackled. When the person starts the job on the radio, he has got status buttons. So I go and I push my status button and I start that job. You'll see the status has changed to in progress. Now that that job is in progress, okay, I have got a started time, all right, and I've got a duration of an end time. Okay, now, when he completes the job, so he's finished the job, I've cleaned this air conditioner, that's it, I'm done. The status of that job will turn green. You will also notice there that I have got another job that's still in progress. Now, that is a job I created earlier. All right, now I can go back into that job on this radio and actually complete that job now. Okay. Okay, so I've just completed that top job. You can see the duration it took me to do the top job. It took me 2 hours and 34 minutes to complete the top job, okay? And it took me 24 seconds to complete the second job. In this, you can actually see that you can generate reports based on your jobs. So if you give guys KPIs and they have to complete a task within a specific timeline, you can't doctor this. This is true and it's real time and it's live. Okay. That gives you a feel and an indication, guys, of what and how a job ticket is. Okay. You can create them manually. They can be automatically created. These statuses that are put into TRBONet, you need to create these statuses. Whatever the status is that you put into TRBONet here, you need to program this into the two-way radio identically. Okay, so whatever you're calling it as a name and whatever its action is, you need to put it in exactly like that. The radio is actually sending this as a status message. Okay, if you get the status message incorrect and it doesn't recognize what you are sending, it will not respond. You will not change this status of the system. So if you do program this in and you are sending your statuses out of the radio, come back in here and check it. All right. Make sure that what your statuses are based in here is exactly what you've programmed into the radio. Okay. When you start TRBONet as a blank install, these will be basically empty. You need to add them. Okay. Guys, this is everything I can help you set up. So once we start setting all of this up, we can start running with it. This is where you're going to set your status colors. So all the colors that are picked there is me. I've just picked colors. So you would pick different colors that suit yourselves, colors that mean something more to your customers, but you can see that the colors are all acceptable. You can change whatever you want to change. Okay. Once again, I think I'm just saying to you that it is really adjustable, and you can make it your own. You can do what you like with it. Okay, route management. I'm going to request the help of one of my lads once I start this route, because I need to get this radio moved. Okay, now I've created a cleaning route. All right, if I start this cleaning route, okay, I need to allocate it to a radio. So I'm going to allocate this cleaning route to a radio. Now I'm forcing this radio to go and do a specific route. Okay, so I'm saying to him, I'm starting your route and I want you to start the route. Now, it's going to send it a message as well.
64250. Content. Start cleaning route 1.
Okay. So your operator has been told, hey, Sunshine, go and start your cleaning route. I want you to start this cleaning route. Now, once he starts that cleaning route, I have got this radio standing right next to the Blueberry iBeacon. So that's why you'll see that that Blueberry iBeacon is already green. Now, remember quick, when I showed you the route management slide, in the route management slide, you've got different locations that he's designated to hit. Now, you can start this at 10 o'clock in the morning, every single morning, and he's get 15 minutes to get to beacon 1. So you're going to hit him at 10:15. If he doesn't hit beacon 1 within a set period of time and he goes over that window, you can escalate that. You can create a call to the console, to his supervisor, to whoever, to let him know that he's missed a deadline. Now, this can be for couriers delivering, for cleaning people, cleaning lavatories, for guards having to hit specific points within their guarding environment. Now, the biggest problem with guards is they get into routines and they learn how to destroy the routine. What you can do with this is that you can change his routine. So you can generate a new route for the guard. And as he hits a certain point, it will tell him what his next point is. So when he hits point 1, it will say to him, please go to point 5. He would normally go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get bored and just keep repeating it. You can force him to change that route. Okay, so you can actually mix people's routes up. I'm going to get Matthew to come and collect this radio. He'll take this radio away from me and it will actually go across to the next beacon. And once it gets to the next beacon, it will complete the call. Okay, it will complete the route. Once it completes the route, you'll see that that actually cleans it up. All right, so Matt's collected the radio from me. It's going to the other side of our workshop and it'll associate now to another beacon. Once it associates to the second beacon, the route will be completed and you'll get a text message on that radio saying that your route's been completed, and the route will come up here as it being a completed route. Okay. I just hope these beacons are far enough apart that it will actually designate the fact that he's changed locations. And she likely silences. There we go. Route's completed. Okay, so he's now receiving a text message on that radio stating that he has completed the route. All right, now I could have left the route up there as a completed route. I didn't hit the tick box to say keep the route completed, and I could have seen the history of the route. It's dumped the route, it's taken it away, and it's no longer in my list as an operator to see that that route is in progress. Okay. TRBONet also gives you an RFID tracker, so you can put RFID tags into your radios and you can track them as an RFID tag as well. You can also generate and send text messages to and from radios or from groups of radios. So you can either send it to a individual radio or you can send it to a group of radios. So if you selected a talk group, for argument's sake, you can send a text message to a whole talk group. Now, folks, what you were listening to when my radio was receiving a text message is the text-to-speech enabled. In other words, I've allowed this radio to read the text out to me. It's a good feature if you have got guys that don't want to be reading the screen all the time, if they've got hearing protection on, or they are busy with their hands all the time and they receive that text message. Now, that text message can be anything from I want you to start a route to I want you to evacuate to I need you to come to a barbecue this evening. Okay, so that text message can be anything. You can generate that from the console. You can also send text messages between the radios. Okay, and I think you guys all know that. But sending a text message from the console is quite quick and easy because it's basically sending a text message as if you were a specific location, and it's quick and easy. Okay, and you can send that text message. All right.
4250. Subject, administrator. Content, hello in a location.
Okay, so that was that message coming in. You can delete that message. You can reply to that message. Okay, you can also reply to the messages and they will come into TRBONet, and you can actually view those messages coming into TRBONet. So anybody on the outside can actually send the operator a text message. Okay. You can also generate voice recordings. So you can create a voice recording in here for specific reasons. So you can create a voice recording for smokers, for breaks, for evacuations, for whatever. And those voice recordings or voice recordings can be transmitted over the air to the radios. Okay. Reports. We can generate all sorts of reports. This is the list of reports that TRBONet has got in it as standard reports: lost devices, registered radios, which radios are currently registered on the radio system, unregistered radios, GPS statuses, etc., etc. Guys, there's a myriad of reports. If a report is not here that you would like, we can create reports for you. There is a cost associated with creating specific new reports, but those are, you know, we can negotiate those and talk to TRBONet about creating those reports for us. A typical report: attended beacons. I gave it a specific timeline from the 16th of February 2022 up to the 21st of February 2022. I wanted to know which beacons had been attended, and it generates a report for you. Okay. Location period for a period of time. So this is now from 2017 right through to yesterday. It's giving me locations based on radios, and I can go and actually have a look at that location on the map. So if I click it and I can actually say I want it on the local map, it will put a pin on it for me. It'll show me exactly where that radio was in that specific time, at that specific date. Okay, so the 11th of October 2018, okay, I want to know exactly where that radio was, and the accuracy was 12 meters for this one. All right. So you can see exactly, and this is for one specific radio. So this is my radio called Ace Training 1. Okay. It just happens to be a 4801E. All right. I think I ran the report for that radio. So I didn't run the report for anything else. Okay. So I can see right back to the start of time when I first turned my system on and when I started keeping records for this radio as to where it was for the very first time it logged itself on. So you can see the reports are quite comprehensive. The event viewer. The event viewer is basically all the events that are happening on this radio system with respect to a radio. So whether a radio generates a call and the call is active, it will come up on the event viewer. If you are sending GPS data, it'll come on the event viewer. If you're sending a text message, it will come up on the event viewer. So you can go in and have a look at this event viewer. Guys, This is not something you can get rid of. This is here. It's there. Okay. You can export your event viewer. You can also pause the event viewer. So if you wanted to go and look for the specific event that's happened on the event viewer, you can actually go and look for that and find it. All right. You can also have a radio allocation. So you can also have inside these radios an automatic sign-in. Now, some of you guys have seen the sign-in feature as a tick box in CPS. If you tick the tick box in CPS, the radio will prompt you for a sign-in. When you get prompted for a sign-in, you will associate that radio's sign-in details to a user. When the user signs in and takes that radio, their name will pop up next to the name of the radio within this window. So ACE Training 1, next to it in brackets would be a name of the person that has now taken that radio. It would also pop up in this screen. So taken by the user, it would pop up in here. You would see exactly who's taken that radio, okay? You can also allocate a radio to a specific user within the administration tab. Now, you would not leave the administration tab open for your customer. This is where you are going to come and make all the settings and the changes to the system for your customer. Once your customer is going to log in, this is where you're going to create your dispatchers. And once you create a dispatcher, you can dictate his roles. Okay, so if you create a dispatcher here, you can actually give him his rights. What can he see? What can't he see? What is allowed to do? What is he not allowed to do? What radio systems is he allowed to connect to? Okay, what radio groups is he allowed to connect to? Which dispatcher groups is allowed to connect to? Okay, there's a lot of input you're going to be putting in here for the dispatcher when you create him to be able to use on the system, including his login details. Okay, this is where you're going to create your login details for your dispatchers. This is also where you're going to create your indoor 2D maps or your indoor 3D maps. This is also where you have got your GPS profiles. Now, every radio that is in here has got a GPS profile associated with it for me to be able to see where it is and what it is. Under your administration is where you are setting those profiles. Okay, so I've got two profiles setting. I've got an indoor and an outdoor. In other words, I am forcing the thing to report an indoor beacon if it sees it. If I go outdoor, indoor, I am making the preference my GPS, not my beacon. Okay, and I can then associate each one of those to a radio. I can set its profile. Okay, so once again, you can see that you guys can change and fix and make things happen inside TRBONet quickly as it suits you. All right. In your administration tab is where you are doing all your setup. You don't give this tab access to your customers. All right, your customers don't get access to this. All right, this is where you're putting your radio groups in, your talk groups, you're naming them here. Whatever you're sticking in here is what's coming up on this screen here. Okay, you can also change the view. Okay, what do I want my PDT boxes to look like? I can change the size of the PDT boxes. This changing the size of the PDT boxes and changing how this screen looks is manageable within the administration tab. This is where you're saying your operator can't change this. You don't want him to change this. You want it to look like it looks, and he can't change that. You take that ability away from him. Okay. One of the most powerful tools of the radio system is I can actually tie talk groups together. So let's say, for argument's sake, I wanted this talk group, okay, tied into that talk group. You can create that talk group very quickly. I've now created a new talk group. All right. Currently, if I talk on talk group 1, I'm only going out on talk group 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Talk group 1, I'm only going out on talk group 1. If I now create this link and I create this connectivity between the talk groups. When I now PDT on talk group 1, I'm going to go out on talk group 3 as well. I've now tied those together. I've got radio sitting all around me here, folks. Sorry about that. I am now talking on talk group 1. So I'm keying up talk group 1, and I'm actually going out on talk group 3 as well. So you can see on the right-hand side, I'm actually going out on both talk groups. Okay. If I had enough time slots in my system, I could have actually tied a third talk group into that. So I could have actually dropped a third talk group into there. Okay, I don't have enough time slots on my system because I've only got one repeater on each site. One repeater on each site gives me 2 time slots. If I had 2 repeaters on each site, I could create this talk group and it would work. Okay. I'm not going to have enough time slots for this talk group to work. Okay, so it will key up and it will give me a second time slot. The third time slot has not come into that talk group. Why? Because I don't have a time slot for it. So the system has created the talk group. It's created the PDT. It's letting me do the PDT, but one of my talk groups is not in that functional PDT. Okay. If I had enough time slots, I would be able to create that talk group. Okay. I don't have enough time slots. I can't create that talk group. Now, one of my guys will actually be on talk group 3. Okay. I'm on talk group 1, and we can actually talk to each other. So if I key up now, I'm on talk group 1. One of my other guys will be on talk group 3. They'll be able to come back to me on talk group 3. So you can see now in the top window, I am actually transmitting, and I'm transmitting on talk group 1. Okay. If one of them comes back to me, you will see that they will come back on the talk group 3. So the talk group 3 will come in the top. Okay. All right. Okay. That is a quick connection. Oh, and to turn it on, turn it off, one tick box. So activate it, deactivate it. So I've now deactivated that talk group. So as the operator, I get the ability to tie talk groups together, to activate them and to deactivate them. Okay. Now I do have a Swift gateway tied into this thing. However, I have not allowed for the Swift gateway. I haven't got it sitting in on one of the routers at the moment. So it's going to be disconnected. So remember, I said to you guys, we can put a Swift agent in. So this is an A200 and it is connected to a radio via a 4Y ENM. At this point in time, I haven't got it connected to a router, so it's actually off the air. Okay, so this equipment is not connected at the moment. So I have got the ability, once again, from here, I can actually hide it. So I don't want to see it, that's not there. So I can just turn it, make it invisible, okay, and take it away. Very manageable, very functional, and it's straightforward to use, guys. It's a wonderful tool. It gives you functionality. It gives you tools and abilities that their radio system is now no longer just a push to talk. It becomes a really workable piece of equipment that can enhance their business. I hope that was intuitive. On the TRBONet, this is TRBONet Plus, folks. Now, TRBONet Enterprise looks identical to this. However, TRBONet Enterprise cannot be used on Capacity Plus and Link Capacity Plus if you are going to be using voice across the system from the console. If you're going to be using trigger-based radios to do your voice and communications, you can actually use the TRBONet Enterprise functionality. Now, TRBONet Plus, TRBONet Watch is connected to my repeater system via Ethernet. This is behind a router. Everything is connected via Ethernet. And if you're going to connect everything via Ethernet, you must remember to please include the NAI voice and data licenses for your repeaters. Okay, there are a $309 license per license. So your NAI voice and your NAI data are $309 each. If you do not have those licenses in your repeaters, they cannot communicate to third-party applications running on Ethernet. Okay, it is imperative that you remember to have those licenses. You will also run on these machines on the server an MNIS, which is a Motorola Network Interface Server, and a DDMS. Your DDMS is the server that is doing all of the automatic registration services. So the automatic registration service is what this radio is using to dictate whether I'm registered on the system or not. Okay, so if I wasn't running a DDMS, everything here would be gray. We wouldn't be running anything. It would see nothing. Okay, so those are imperatives. You have to run a DDMS, you have to run an MNIS, and you have to have NI, voice and data licenses on your repeaters. MNIS and DDMS are part of this server. Okay, so MNIS and DDMS run on these machines. That's the MNIS. I'm getting technical here, folks. Sorry, I can't help myself. I'm just one of those people. Okay, that's your MNIS. That's what the MNIS is running. That's what it looks like. Okay, and you've got to run a DDMS. Now, there are no settings inside the DDMS that you're going to change, but it has to be running. Okay, so if you're not running the DDMS, you won't be running this network. It will not work. Okay. I'm going to demonstrate you quickly, and I'm going to turn my camera on, so you're going to have to see my ugly mug for a couple of seconds. Okay, I need to show you guys, and I hope my video starts. So there I am. Hello, everybody. I have configured my 4801E for a wave channel. I'm hoping it's going to show you exactly what I'm doing. Currently, I am on a capacity plus solution. So you can see there, I am running in the capacity plus, and I'm keying up on talk group 1. I have programmed that side button on my radio to give me a wave channel. Now, if I push it, this radio is going to change to a wave. Okay, ooh, focus, baby. All right, it is now initializing my wave channel. This radio is now connected to a Wi-Fi access point, and it is going to connect into the wave gateway. Now, you will see on the radio that we have got a Wi-Fi access point has come up on the actual display, and you will see there where my pinky is. Keep focusing, baby. Focus. There is a little round ball. That little round ball is showing you that this radio is now connected to the wave gateway. If I now key this radio up, I'm actually going to go through and talk on talk group 1, okay, via the wave gateway. So this radio is now connected back into our wave gateway, talking back onto the radio system. Okay. It's a wonderful tool to have. And guys, remember what I said to you earlier. We have now got the functionality of turning this radio into a wave platform. So anybody that's now leaving their location and going home with the 2-way radio can take his radio with him. So if he takes his radio with him, he's no longer connected to the radio system. He's now connected to the wave system, but he's still talking on his 2-way radio system. Okay. So he's still connected to the radio system. When he comes back into the office, it's once again a single push of a button, and he goes straight back onto the radio system. One button, guys, and you can program any one of the buttons to do that for you. Okay, so once he's back into the radio system, he's just communicating back on the radio system as normal. All right. The other thing I didn't demonstrate, which I will demonstrate quickly, and I can turn my ugly mug off for this so that you can concentrate on the screen, is the emergency button. So you know every Motorola radio's got an emergency button. What happens if emergency gets generated? So if emergency gets generated, it comes up on the screen. All right. And because it comes up on the screen, it shows you exactly where that person is and what that person is doing. Now, any radio that on the system is programmed to receive this emergency will receive it. Now, it's popped up a screen for me straight away, and it's showing me where that radio is. So you can see straight away exactly where that radio is. It brought that map up automatically. I didn't have to bring the map up. It's brought it up. Okay. That map is showing me within 1.2 meters of exactly where the radio is. So I now know where to go and find the lad that's in trouble. Okay. When this radio goes into an emergency state, you have got ways of setting it up. If I set it up to transmit, the radio will go into a transmit state. It will then go into a receive state. When it's in the receive state, I can talk to the person that's in trouble. Okay. While it's in the receive state and I'm talking to him, I can ask him questions. It will then go back into an automatic transmit state. When it's in the automatic transmit state, he answers me. So in other words, he doesn't have to be pushing a PDT button. The radio is transmitting automatically for him. Okay. This cycle of transmit, receive, you can set. You can set it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You can set it 10 times. You can set the duration of the transmit receive time. The duration, 10 seconds transmit, 10 seconds receive, 20 seconds transmit, 30 seconds receive. That's entirely up to you. Once that cycle is finished, you can program the radio to generate an emergency tone. In other words, when that radio is stopping its transmissions, it will automatically start transmitting a high-pitched tone. Now, that tone cannot be silenced until you stop the alarm. Okay, so you need to find him to stop the alarm. Once you find him, you can stop the alarm. All right, now I've stopped the emergency, and you can see on the top screen that it's changed. I can now clear this emergency. When you clear the emergency, you can actually put in details of what the emergency was. Okay. Why do you do that? You do that so that when you go and have a look at your event viewer, you can actually go and see what the emergency was for. Okay. And what happened to it when I took the emergency away. Let me get rid of him. Okay. So when I go and have a look at the emergency and I want to go back into the emergency, you can go and have a look at the notes of the emergency, and your user would have put notes against the emergency as to exactly what transpired and what the emergency was. All right. Everything that's happening on this radio system is also a recording, so you can actually play it back. Okay. Now, if you hit the playback, it will play back that specific call. All right. Now, you can't hear the playback. I can hear it. It's in my ears. Okay. If you missed a call as an operator, so you're sitting there and a call comes in. So I'm on talk group 1 and somebody comes in on talk group 3, and I wasn't sure whether that call was for me or not. You can actually go back and listen to that call. Okay, so you can see from the list which talk groups were active. So you can actually see here which talk groups went active and which talk groups were talking. So you can go and play those back. You can also save these. So you can save these and take them into a court of law as an untouched voice file. So everything that's happening on this radio system is being recorded. This recording feature set is a part and parcel of TRBONet when you buy the recording license for it. However, TRBONet has also got a product that is purely a recorder. So if you do have a customer that wants to record everything that's happening on his radio system, but he doesn't want the whole console, that's fine. We can sell him just the TRBONet recorder, so he gets this information. Okay. All right. This is probably generating more questions and answers, but guys, I'm just trying to show you what's available and give you some excitement to go out there and expand your radio systems. Let's have a quick look at TRBONet Watch. Okay, this is the system that is monitoring your radio system. Remember I told you there was a topology. That topology is part and parcel of my system. That is what my system looks like. Okay, I did not build that topology. It builds that topology. That is the diagnostics window. That is live diagnostics. If I key my radio up, you will see which time slot actually goes live on the radio system. Okay, so you will see now which time slot I'm actually on time slot 1, and I'm receiving my uplink is at negative 32.722 dBms. All right. This is the full activity on the channel. So I can see where my active channel is. I can see which active channel in this screen, and I can see what my RSSI level is. So any radio coming into your system, you can see an instant RSSI level. You know exactly what RSSI level that radio is coming in at. If you think you've got problems on your radio system, there is your RSSI level of the uplink, folks. This is not the downlink. This is from the portable coming into the repeater station. Okay. So if you think you've got bad spots, TRBONet Watch will let you know that you've got bad spots. Okay. You can have a look at any one of the time slots. Whichever time slot I've got highlighted on the right-hand side is what I'm seeing on the left-hand side. So if I highlight that time slot, that's the time slot I'm seeing. If I highlight that time slot or that time slot, that's the time slot I'm actually seeing on the left-hand side. Okay. It's a constant ongoing track. This is everything that's happening on this radio system. This is what's happened on this radio system from time and eternity. Okay. It's all there. The data sessions are the GPS sessions. The data sessions is the updating of the GPS on the radio system. My radio system, guys, all the GPS data is coming over the voice channels. I don't have dedicated data repeaters. However, if you had dedicated data repeaters, this would look the same. You would just see that your time slots and your PIDs for the data would be different. Okay, it wouldn't be going over the same time slots in the same radio. Okay, so my PID 2.201, that's time slot 2 on repeater 201. 1.101 is time slot 1 on repeater 101. Okay, repeater 101, what is repeater 101? Repeater 101 is my master. Okay, that's my master. It's a repeater, it's locked, and it's running on that frequency. So there's my frequency, okay? These are the frequencies that are programmed into that repeater. This is the active channel. So the active channel, that's the frequency, that's the bandwidth. What is it? It's a link capacity plus voice channel. What is it transmitting on? It's transmitting on low power. Okay. If I really wanted to, folks, I can change my repeater power settings from here. So I can go to high power and I can write that. So I can write to the repeater from here and it'll write to it via Ethernet. Okay. I can also take this repeater down. So if I think this repeater is causing problems and it's locking my system up, I can actually take it down from here. So I can actually disable that repeater station from here. I can also see the state of my repeater. I can see that all my repeaters alarms are all green at the moment. I don't have any alarm statuses sitting on that repeater. Okay. Now, this alarm status is a hell of a lot more comprehensive than the alarm status that you are getting off RDAC. I will start RDAC for you shortly, and you can see the difference between what this is showing you on the repeater diagnostics as opposed to conventional RDAC. All right, I don't normally run RDAC and TRBONet Watch together because they are basically pulling the same information using the same ports on the repeater station to bring this information back, so they can bump heads. This, folks, is traditional RDAC. This is free. You do not pay for this. You get this. However, if you want to monitor more than one radio system with RDAC, you need to buy a multiple system RDAC license. What this RDAC shows you is everything that's connected to your radio system's master repeater station. That includes the MNIS. Okay, that's your Motorola Network Interface Server. So RDAC will show you the MNIS that's running. Okay, now, remember I told you guys that if I wanted to see my receive RSSI levels in RDAC, I had to go and ask for it. If I key up a conventional radio in TRBONet and I'm running TRBONet Watch, that RSSI level will come up on that time slot. Now, I know this is on repeater 2, so if I go and select repeater 2 and I ask for the RSSI, it will come back to me. But I had to request it, and I also had to know which repeater station I'm actually on to bring that RSSI level back. Okay. Whereas in TRBONet Watch, I don't have to know that. TRBONet Watch is monitoring every time slot all the time, knowing exactly what it is. I can see my AC voltage. I can see my TX output power on that repeater station. I can see my VSWR on that repeater station. I can see for how many hours or minutes that repeater station's been up since I program it. I can see the firmware version on that repeater. Now, yes, I can see all of that in RDAC as well. But if I wanted to get that AC voltage in RDAC, I've got to go and ask for it. Okay, that's not a bad thing. It's there. This is free. Remember what I said to you. RDAC is free. You get this. Okay. You've also got control of your repeaters on RDAC, like you've got control from TRBONet Watch, but you need to open it. Okay. Sometimes when you guys have got problems in your system, I'm going to ask you for your repeater log. The repeater log within your repeater station, okay, is always there. You don't delete it unless you physically delete it. Now, if I ask you to please send me a repeater log, you need to get into RDAC. You need to highlight the repeater that I want the log of, and you need to say, read the log. It will read the log for you. This log's got nothing in it, so this repeater hasn't had an alarm state in it. Okay? Let's go and check the other one and see if that's had an alarm state in it. That one's had an alarm state. Okay, so if I ask you to read a repeater log and it brings back an alarm state, I need to know what that alarm state is. So on the 16th of October 2019 was the last alarm state this repeater had, and it was a battery disconnect. Okay. There are only 2 major alarms on an SLR 5500 repeater. I'll say that again. There are only 2 major alarms on an SLR 5500. Both of those major alarms are to do with the PA. It will major alarm with a VSWR that climbs, and it will major alarm if your PA fails. Okay, so transmit powers, 2 major alarms. If you get a major alarm on this repeater, there's only 2 ways of resetting a major alarm. You need to go and cycle the power, or you need to write to that repeater to reset a major alarm. You can write to that repeater remotely from here to reset a major alarm. However, please make sure you know why you've got a major alarm before you reset that repeater. If you've got a high VSWR, remember the repeater's protecting itself. It's taken itself out of circuit and it's stopped transmitting because it's got a high VSWR. Please fix that before you reinitialize this repeater, otherwise you will cook it. Okay. You cannot change the VSWR setting for the major alarm. It will go at 5 to 1. You can't change that. It is not software settable. Motorola sets that and you can't change that. Okay. However, it does work. We've had a couple of incidences where major alarms go and it's actually the lightning protection that has failed. Lightning protection is failing because, guys, when you put in a new digital radio system, you must please make sure that your lightning protectors can handle the voltage and the power that the digital is creating. Remember that when we are running capacity plus, our repeaters are transmitting permanently. Okay. Those repeaters are transmitting and beaconing every 2 seconds. That is effectively a permanent transmission. If you do not have lightning protection in it that can handle that power and that voltage, you will cook it, and eventually it fires. When it fires, it thinks it's been struck by lightning and it goes open circuit. Your repeater sees an open circuit and it fires an emergency alarm and it turns itself off. All right, so if I ever ask you for a log off your repeater station to try and determine what's wrong with it, you need to run RDAC. Okay, RDAC is free. You don't have to pay for it. Once again, you're going to highlight the repeater I want the log off, and you're going to go into the repeater log button. When you go into the repeater log, you are going to read the log. Okay, you then save that log and email it to me. I can then tell you what your repeater is failing on. All right. If you clear that log, if I read that log and I clear that log, I will clear that log out of that repeater station. I don't like clearing logs on repeaters that have had a fault. I like to know what the fault was on that repeater, and I like to keep that there. Okay, but that's me, folks. That's not my call. That's your call. If you want your repeaters logs always to be clean and you only want the last known incident in your log, clear the logs. That's your prerogative. I'm not going to tell you whether you should and shouldn't clear the logs. Okay. Folks, I think I've taken up enough of your time. That's an hour and a half. I do apologize for running over, but I did feel that this was quite important for you. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And till Thursday, goodbye.